Okay, so I think we're now officially on the record, but still waiting for people to trickle in. So you're all celebrating President's Day today? No. When I was growing up, we didn't have a President's Day. We had a separate holiday for Lincoln's birthday, which was on the 12th, and a separate holiday for Washington's birthday, which was on the 22nd. And then somewhere along, I don't remember when, but I think sometime in the 70s, they were consolidated into a single President's Day, and always on a Monday, regardless of the date of the actual birthdays. And then I think it was just a ploy to make for a long weekend. And OSU has never recognized President's Day as a holiday for us. That's why we're meeting today, even though other government functions are not, are like the mail, for instance, is not in service today. But anyway, just
here is Carnival, but I
oh,
think in
that's
the
right,
history,
yeah.
yeah, in the history, this is the first Carnival without Carnival.
Oh, I know
Yeah.
Rio is famous for, or Brazil in general, but Rio especially is famous for Carnival. Yeah.
Mm,
Oh,
not this year.
yeah. What can we do? Yeah. Well, we can celebrate like Kenna with in or virtual celebrations, I suppose, right? Okay. Well, we're getting a bit more robust. Julia's with us. That's good. Hello there. Chandini, good. Welcome. I'll give it one more minute, and then I will move into real mode, I suppose. Um,
I know it's not class, but for our club meetings, we wait like 10 minutes for people to show up.
10 minutes. I know it's a difficult calculus. How long to wait for people? Um, so as long as we, and now Isabel's with us, that's good. So we now have a quorum. I think we have more than half of you, and counting me. Well, and yeah. So we're okay. I think we'll get started. Well, I have to confess that I'm cheating again today because my T-shirt, once again, as some of you might be able to see, is our friend Occam once more. That's because he's always with us, and I can't I can't. We always have to acknowledge his presence. However, I figured out that what I'm actually doing in recycling Occam, so to speak, is practicing a kind of parsimony with my T-shirts in order to try to get them to last through the whole semester. As I think I told you, I really don't have enough T-shirts. I mean, I have plenty of real T-shirts that I could wear, but linguistically themed T-shirts that are appropriate for our class are require a bit of creativity on my part. Let's put it that way. So I'm recycling Occam today. We will have reason to invoke him again today. And as I say, I'm practicing a kind of T-shirt parsimony. However, I do want to give you a little extra, as I always try to do, that is Occam related. And let me share my screen because I'm going to show you a little clip from a TV show, and it's I want to share sound, and I hope this will work. Oh, to please install. I'm not sure. Well, let's see if we can make this happen. I don't remember. There we are. So I'm going to play for you a little clip from a TV show. The TV show is was a serial that was on for several years running called Justified. I don't. Do any of you know that? It was about a a federal marshal who was stationed in the hills of Kentucky, and he was fighting against a a gang that was running drugs and guns and such in the Appalachian area of Kentucky. It was a really good series. Is anyone? I don't know if anyone. Let's see. Kenna supposedly set in Lexington, right? But the sets are you're Kenna. If I remember, you're from Lexington, right? So
Yeah.
but definitely not. Yeah.
Yeah, my
okay,
mom
but
and my
definitely not
brother
Kentucky. But
watched. Oh.
yeah, well, anyway, it's really good. If you have nothing else to do with your time and you're looking for something to watch, find it. But unbelievably, in the middle of one of the episodes, let me find it here. In the middle of one of the episodes, no, I need to find it. I had it. Justified. Give me a sec here, guys. I thought I had it queued up. No, that's not what I want. All of this, I hope it'll be worth your while. We'll see. Okay, here we are. Okay, so the background here is that the federal marshal is noticing that, or is commenting on the fact that there have been a number of suspicious fires, and he's talking about it with one of his deputies and with excuse me, a guy who runs an insurance company there, and it's very brief. It's only 15 seconds long, but there's a reference to Occam's razor in it. So I'll ask you to listen carefully. There, I have to warn you, since we're supposed to give you trigger warnings, there is a 4-letter word that is used at the very end. So if you're likely to be offended by hearing a 4-letter word that begins with S and ends in T, if you're likely to be offended, then stop listening at the 13-second mark. Okay, I think it's not really horribly offensive, but I just warn you in case. Now I'm going to run this. I think I set it up so that you can hear the sound from the computer. If not, I'll run it again. Okay, so there is the federal marshal. This guy here is the one who is going to make a pronouncement, and the deputy, this guy's deputy, Tim Oliphant's deputy, is someone you will want to pay attention to. So listen carefully, please.
For the rapture, talk to the chief. He ruled out foul play, though he did note there are more fires in town as of late. Murphy's law. Simplest explanation is usually correct. I mean, Occam's razor. Occam's razor, Thor's hammer. Who gives a shit? Like his.
Okay, could you all hear that? Yes.
It was kind of quiet, so I didn't hear that much.
Let me. Okay. Well, that's about as loud as I can make it. Adjust your earphones and listen. I'll play it again, and then we'll give up on this. But listen carefully, please.
For the rapture, talk to the chief. He ruled out foul play, though he did note there are more fires in town as of late. Murphy's law. Simplest explanation is usually correct. I mean, Occam's razor. Occam's razor, Thor's hammer. Who gives a shit? Like his.
So, I hope you could hear it that time. So, first of all, does everyone know what he's referring to when he says Murphy's law?
Whatever can go wrong does go wrong.
Yes, exactly. It's not a real law. It's not a principle. It's not a scientific statement or anything. It's just a sort of joking kind of notion that we deal with. Murphy's law, I should have. As I say, it isn't a real thing, but Murphy's law. If something can go wrong, it will. I can remember my father saying that years and years ago. If something can go wrong, it will. It will go wrong. So okay. That's what the insurance guy is referring to. But how does he state Occam's razor? That's the deputy then corrects him and says, no, actually it's Occam's razor. But what is wrong with the statement of Occam's razor that this guy gives? I'll play it one more time and you can listen one more time.
Talk to the chief, he ruled out foul play, though he did note there are more fires in town as of late. Murphy's Law. Simplest explanation is usually correct.
Simplest explanation is usually correct. Is that how we've characterized Occam's razor? No? What's wrong about that? I saw someone shaking their heads.
You forgot the all things being equal.
All things being equal. So it really isn't a matter of, remember I put it in these terms. It isn't a matter of the best explanation. It's a matter of the better, the better explanation. Given two accounts that give you exactly the same results, you can then invoke Occam's razor to make a choice between them, to evaluate them. So it's an evaluation metric for hypotheses as long as they both cover the facts to the same degree. So it's popularly stated in exactly the way this guy says it. The simplest explanation is usually correct. But if we're to invoke it as a scientific principle, we aren't going to say just the simplest, because the simplest solution would be, well, I'm just going to posit one entity that does everything for me. That's simple, isn't it? Well, no, because it really doesn't account for the facts. In our terms, it doesn't account for the facts according to other principles such as phonetic plausibility or regularity of sound change, or looking at the distribution of environments and so forth. So simple alone is not enough. You have to cover the facts, and then you can take two hypotheses and evaluate them. Okay, so all of this, a lot of rigmarole for just giving you a bit of a bit of fun at the beginning of class. I'm practicing parsimony with my teachers. But oh yeah, justified is reasonable because one of the things that we have to do in our reconstructions is justify them. So we have to give a motivation for it. So drawing this from the TV series Justified is sort of consistent with what we need to do in the course of the day in our classes. Okay, so all right, so let me first see if anyone has any questions about anything. We will talk about German eventually, but I want to make sure we're all on the same page about about something that we covered right at the last 5 minutes or so of 5 or 10 minutes of class last week. We were talking about the relative chronology of sound changes. And I'm just going to quickly review what the example that we gave from Polynesian last time, and then I'm going to we're going to go through another example. Actually, I'm going to let you. I thought I would do it by breakout rooms to let you guys figure things out for yourselves, and then we could reconvene. So, the example that we looked at. I guess the background for this is that sound changes, as we said, unfold in real time. They take place in time and space. That is, a particular speech community at a particular period of time undergoes a sound change. So that means that since sound changes unfold in real time, that they are really distinct historical events. And therefore we can look at we can try to see whether we have any evidence for just when these events took place. It's often the case that we can't tell in absolute terms when it took place. Like this sound change took place from 500 to 550 AD or something like that. But oftentimes when we have two sound changes that potentially seem to interact, that they could, in a certain sense, one could be inconsistent or one could get in the way of the other, then we can look at the way the changes unfold and get a sense of the relative chronology of the changes. So that would be as opposed to the absolute chronology, which we oftentimes cannot tell. So the case in point from Polynesian that we looked at was our decision about the correspondence set between Maori, Hawaiian, Maori, Hawaiian, Samoan, and Fijian, I think. The crucial case is going to be Hawaiian, where this correspondence set gave us reason to reconstruct a T. And similarly, we had a correspondence set of K with to glottal stop in K in Maori, for instance, to glottal stop in Hawaiian, that we ultimately decided to reconstruct as a K. Now, I've said this many times, but it becomes important here that when we make a decision about reconstruction, it really commits us to a particular path of development into the individual languages. So that by reconstructing a T here and by reconstructing a K here, it commits us to positing two changes between Proto-Polynesian and Hawaiian. The one that I labeled as number 17, just to randomly give it some a label, by which a Proto-T became a K in Hawaiian, and one in which the this one, as represented here, in which the Proto-K became a glottal stop in Hawaiian. So we have these two changes in Hawaiian, both of which involve K in some way or another, and that's where they we therefore have a situation where there's some potential interaction between the two changes, and the potential is there for one change to get in the way of the other change, or to muck it up somehow, or to interact with it in the most general terms. Does everyone see that? This is sort of setting it up in ways that I just went through very, very quickly last time. That's why I want to take the time to do it in a little bit more detail now. Do I see a hand? No, I see a thumbs up. Good. Okay. I like thumbs up. That's good. All right. So no, I don't see any questions. So I'm assuming then that all of this up to now makes sense. So that we're now in a position to ask the question, so what is the order of these changes relative to one another? If we think of these as each change as a distinct historical event, then it makes sense to say, did one come before the other, or is it the other way around? So that's really what the question that we're asking when we're trying to determine the relative chronology of two changes. So did arbitrarily numbered 17 come before the arbitrarily numbered 22, or did 22 come before 17? And occur before here is really what I mean by relative chronology, the chronology of one change relative to the other. And then we can lay it out in even more explicit terms. Did T turn into K and then K turn into glottal stop? Or did K turn into glottal stop and then T turn into K? Now, how do we tell? We came up with the answer. We said that it must be the case that the K to glottal stop change occurred before the T to K change, so that our decision was that this one is not a viable chronological ordering for the changes. Another way of asking this is, does the T to K change feed into the K to glottal stop change? If the T to K change took place first, then it would be prior to it, and the material that it creates could in principle be affected by any sound change that comes after. That's what I mean by feed into. This term will actually be useful, feed. So I wanted to introduce it into our lexicon for talking about this. Okay, everyone understand the parameters, the issues that we have here? Okay, and what was the answer? Do you remember, anyone? What was the reasoning that we gave? Anyone? Well, there are only two possible answers here. Either, and I actually gave you, I gave you the answer. I already ruled out this one, but either T to K came first or K to glottal stop came first. So you're not going too far out on a limb to say one or the other. You have a 50% chance of getting it right.
I think that it was K to glottal stop first because we
Okay.
said that we would just have a reconstruction of T to glottal stop. We wouldn't have the K in between. It wouldn't make sense.
Okay, so you're this is what you're opting for. First K to glottal stop and then T to K.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Everyone agree with Hannah? Say yes, because that's the right answer.
Yep.
Okay, good. Thank you. So how, and let's just be a little bit more explicit that if when I put it in these terms, does the T to K change feed into the K to glottal stop change? So the idea is that if the change took a T and turned it into a K, then it would create material that this K to glottal stop change could affect. There would really then be two sources of K at this point. The original K that we reconstructed based on this, and the K that was created by the T to K change on the way to Hawaiian. That's what I mean by, does it feed into? Does it create material that the K to glottal stop change could apply to? And what would be the result if it did? We would have T becoming K, and then we would have sort of new Ks and original Ks would become glottal stop. I have this fancy symbol here, but I would become a glottal stop. So what would be the prediction then for words like we had a word that we reconstructed as tapu, meaning forbidden. And this, by the way, is the source of the English word taboo. If you know that word, sometimes spelled T-A-B-U, sometimes spelled T-A-B-O-O. Tapu, forbidden. What would we, if this was the order of the developments, what would we expect that to develop into in Hawaiian? Anyone? If first T becomes K, and then all of the Ks that are around at that time become a glottal stop, what would we predict as the Hawaiian form?
We would expect apu with a glottal stop.
Right, we would expect apu like that. And we know that that's not the Hawaiian word for forbidden. Apu is a character on The Simpsons. It's not a word in Hawaiian. And how do we actually, what was the actual Hawaiian form? Does anyone remember what the actual Hawaiian form was?
Kapu.
Yeah, kapu. The actual Hawaiian form was kapu. If you ever watched the TV show Hawaii Five-0, at least in the olden days, the 1960s version, this term kapu came up from time to time. And I can remember hearing it and thinking, huh, why isn't that tapu with a T? Isn't that the same word taboo? And it in Hawaiian, it's kapu with a K. All right, so this then gives us the wrong results. And we know they're the wrong results because we have the Hawaiian word for kapu, but we're able to make a prediction. So we say, so if our hypothesis is that there are these two changes and they were occurred as historical events in this order, this is what we would expect, apu. But we are able to measure that against the actual form, and the actual data I mean, we can't change the data. We can change our interpretation of things, but we can't change the data. So this tells us that this account is wrong, and therefore we have the K to glottal stop change before the T to K change. Okay. Tell me if, raise your hand, tell me if you have any questions, if there's anything about this that doesn't make sense. It's really just a type of reasoning. It's what our assumptions really lead us to. It's our assumptions about the changes involved, our assumptions about the reconstruction, our assumptions about the nature of sound change, our assumptions about regularity of sound change. Why does regularity play a role here? Or in what way does regularity play a role here?
I guess if it applies to the original K, then shouldn't it also apply to the newer Ks?
As long, yeah, if it says, look, I'm going to apply to a K, any K that I find is fodder for me, is fair game for me to turn into a glottal stop, then it really doesn't matter if it's a new K or an original K, as long as it's a K. Regularity of sound change says the same phonetic element in that same phonetic, in the same environment, it will behave in the same way. So there should not be a difference between newly created Ks and original Ks, as long as they are both K, as long as they're both a voiceless velar stop. So regularity plays a role. The phonetic basis for sound change plays a role. So think about it. Could we formulate a change of K to glottal stop that says only change an original K, not a K created after the breakup of the proto-language? Would that be a viable statement of the sound change? Think back. We didn't quite get there, but you were supposed to have a look at this. But think back to our statement about about sound change. Sound change is regular. All candidate forms for a particular change, once you formulate it properly of the right environment, limited in time and space, all candidate forms undergo the change. Now, the second part to this neo-grammarian view of sound change, the second part is that it's sound change, when we talk about a particular environment, what we're talking about is only a phonetic environment. The only kinds of conditioning factors are phonetic factors. And in particular, there's no grammatical conditioning. There's no conditioning of by anything other than phonetic material. And that's a really, really key, it's sort of a corollary, if you want to think of it, a corollary to regularity of sound change. Because it's telling you, oh, yes, you have to worry about the conditions, but wait a minute, you can't just have any old thing as a condition. You can't, if you think back to the, I won't put it up, but if you think back to the Berman case that we had, there was one development of one correspondence set of S to theta that occurred in the odd numbered words, and sh to theta occurred in the even numbered words. And you couldn't write a sound change based on what the neo-grammarians say here that says S becomes theta in odd words, and sh becomes theta in even words, or something like that. Because odd and even has nothing to do with phonetics. It has nothing. It only had to do with how the examples were laid out on that page that you were dealing with. So the only thing that can matter is phonetic factors. Keeping that in mind, let's go back here. Suppose we formulated this sound change, or tried to formulate it as only change an original K, not a K created after the breakup of the proto-language. Is that a phonetic environment? Does that involve a condition that is only phonetic in nature? Thank you. Rebecca says no, and that's exactly the right answer. Thank you. So only change an original K, not not a K that's created. Well, original and created afterwards, those are not phonetic notions. So this would be, the answer is no, a resounding no. Let's put it in capital letters. We couldn't have that as the, what am I trying to do here? There we go. The answer is no, resoundingly so, because that would mean that we are using it involves non-phonetic factors. So if we believe in the phonic, I'm sorry, we believe in the phonetic nature sound change, what we could call the phoneticity of sound change. If we believe in the phoneticity of sound change, that only phonetic factors can be involved, then this could not be a viable formulation of the sound of the changes involved. So this would give you the right results, but at the expense of giving up the phonetic nature of sound change. So that then becomes a principle that we can use in deciding which of our competing hypotheses, which of competing accounts is the viable one. And if you everyone with me here? Looks like everyone is. That's good. Okay, so let's think further about what assumptions about speaker knowledge would have to be made. So if we wanted to maintain this kind of approach, say only original Ks undergo the change, but not later created Ks. What does that say about speaker knowledge about their language, and what is potentially problematic about that? Does anyone see what I'm getting at here? If we,
they would have to have diachronic knowledge.
Yeah, right. So if we operationalize, if we put these sound changes into operation by saying what we're really talking about is changes in speakers' behavior, then what would a speaker need to know in order to have such a sound change activated for their in their production of speech? They would have to know something about the history of their language. And we've made the assumption. I think this came out overtly a couple of times already in class, but it just stands to reason that a child, while a child is learning their language, or as adults are dealing with variation and fluctuation and so forth, they aren't reconstructing. They aren't doing what linguists do. They're just being speakers. They're just using their language. And the kind of specific knowledge that you would need to know in order to say, well, wait a minute, I can't change the yes, there's a K in kapu, but I can't change it because I know that comes from an original T. That's not something that speakers really have access to. And look how we got at that. We got at that by saying that we know that it's original T because we have a T in Maori, a T in Samoan, and a T in Fijian. Well, the Hawaiian speaker, particularly a child, say a 5-year-old child who's beginning to become fully fluent in their language, is that child going to have access to this comparative data from Maori, Samoan, and Fijian? Is that child going to have access to the scientific principles like Occam's razor and regularity of sound change and so forth that we've been dealing with? Does it stand to reason to say that the child would have that kind of knowledge, or that even an adult would have that kind of knowledge? I think not. So I think that this kind of formulation here really runs into difficulty when we think about what kind of speaker knowledge would have to be made in order, what kind of assumptions about speaker knowledge would have to be made in order for that to stand up as a viable kind of account. So it just doesn't work because that's not what speakers do. Now you can learn eventually, you can read books about the history of Polynesian, you can study Maori if you're Hawaiian, and you might formulate hypotheses and so forth. But that's a secondary kind of knowledge that is really a different kind of knowledge from what you internalize about your language as you're learning it and as you're developing as a speaker. So I think it's always important to keep our, in all of what we do, so far we've been dealing mainly in kind of abstractions, sounds and speech communities that we really don't define carefully and so forth. But what we always have to bear in mind is that when we're talking about changes in the language, we're talking about changes in the behavior, the linguistic behavior of speakers. And we have to keep in mind what kinds of things, what kinds of information, what kinds of knowledge, what kinds of processes and such do speakers have access to that could affect their behavior, their linguistic behavior. Okay. Yeah, I think what I'll do at this point, everyone okay with all of this? Because I'm going to put you into breakout rooms and I'll give you 10 minutes. I hope that's enough time. I think it is. But I want you to, I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. And how many are you? There are 12 of you. We'll do 3 breakout rooms. I'm going to put a document in the chat. That is called Gbe relative chronology, because there are actually 2 instances of from the Gbe problem where we can determine the relative chronology of the changes involved. So in this document, so everyone should download this, because once you go into breakout rooms, you don't have access to this. So all of you should download this or open it up so that's on your screens. And I will put you into breakout rooms, and I'll give you 10 minutes. There are 2. Let me go back to sharing for a moment. There are 2. Yeah, so there's A and B, 2 different examples. They involve the development from Proto-Gbe first into Kapando and then into Fon and Alada. And they center on some of the developments with the Africans, because that figured pretty prominently in the Gbe example. So and you don't really need access to the full range of Gbe facts. All of the facts that you need are right here on this sheet. I've just picked out the most relevant facts from that list of 22 that list of 22 words from Gbe that you was the basis for the homework. A question. Oh, okay. Marcia's internet just went off. Okay. I will. Oh, well, you're still with us somehow. I'll email it to you, Marcia. But if you're still able to interact, then you can maybe look at the screens of others in your breakout room. And if not, you can just follow along and do the best you can. So I'm going to put you into 3 breakout rooms, 4 of you per room. I'll just assign you randomly, and you'll have 10 minutes to work on to see what you can come up with for this. Then we'll reconvene and discuss it. Okay, everyone clear about what we're going to be doing? Yes. Okay. So we want 1, 2, 3 breakout rooms assigned automatically. Here you go. Good luck. I'll see you at 12 o'clock. We'll reconvene at 12 o'clock. I guess I'm going to pause the recording right now. Okay, we are back on the record now. We're waiting another minute to end the breakout rooms, and then we will reconvene and discuss the Bay business, the relative chronology of those changes between Proto-Bay and first Kapando, and then Fon and or Alada. And I'm back on the record with me. And in 1 minute, everyone will break out rooms, close all rooms. Okay, 60 seconds. Countdown begun. Kyle's back, Claire's back. Anna, good. Kenna, excellent. So was 10 minutes enough time this time? All right, good. So I finally got the right balance between the task and the amount of time. Good. 30 seconds to go. And we have more. There's Grace, Marcia, and Julia. Okay, great. Is everyone? Not everyone's back. Not yet. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second, and everyone should be back now. And I think you all are. Good. Anyone stuck in a breakout room? No? Okay, good. All right, so let's continue gallery-wise. I think that is everyone. 13 minus me, 12. Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, good. So who would like to talk about the first case? I think everyone can share. All participants can share. So if in presenting your answer you want to share your screen, you can. Who'd like to go first? Anyone? Don't be shy. Be bold. Someone step up to the plate. Claire, it looks like you want to talk. Am I right?
I can talk.
Okay, your box was lighted up.
Okay, yeah. So for part A, we decided that the T regular S as a superscript and then goes to T before the TS with the dash underneath it goes to normal TS.
Okay, let me right. Okay, so you were looking at this one, right? So the relative chronology. So the two changes were this thing becoming this thing. Is that right?
Yes. Yep.
And then what about the change of the ts between Proto-Gabe and Kapando?
That's another sound change.
That's another sound change. Okay, good. So then the question is, so we have both the, we have both this becoming becoming this. That's one sound change. And the other sound change is ts becoming t. So this is in 10 to 13, and this is in 18 to 22. But crucially, they're both in the same language, right?
Mm-hmm.
In Kapando, right? Did everyone get to this point? So are these changes that potentially interact with one another? That's the question. And if so, how do they interact? So Claire, just repeat then what your answer was about the relative ordering.
So we said the 18 through 22 sound change has to happen before the 10 through 13 one.
Good. Okay, so there are two hypotheses. One of them says 10 to 13 occurred before 18 to 22, and one of them says 18 to 22 change took place before the 10 to 13 change. And which one did you rule out? This one, right? And this was the ordering that you proposed, that you and your group proposed. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Someone other than Claire's group. This is the answer I was looking for, which is good. But someone other than Claire's group want to explain the reasoning, or someone other than Claire from that same group.
I'll talk. I guess it's the same situation as we had with the Hawaiian. If it were the first option, it would just skip from T to glottal stop.
Right.
But in this case, it would skip from T with the S with the Sadia to just regular T. Right.
So in this case, in the one that we rule out here, this would be we might think of it as a feeding relationship, in that the ch to ts change, this thing here, would feed into the ts to t change. And what we would therefore expect is that the words that we reconstructed with this prepalatal thing would end up as, what would they ultimately end up as in Kapando?
T.
T, exactly, right. Good. And is that true? Is that factual or counterfactual? Is it borne out by the data, or is it not borne out by the data?
I think that we have it correct.
By doing it, but this order here is the correct order. Yes, that's exactly right. Because the what we find is not that the correspondence set. It tells you right here that the ch thing, the prepalatal, becomes the dental ts. It doesn't say that. If you look at the words, and I didn't want you to get bogged down in looking at all 22 words again, so I just tried to boil this down to its essence. But this tells you here that the ts is the outcome in capando, and so this is counterfactual, and therefore wrong. We have to account for the facts first and foremost. So this is counterfactual, and therefore we can rule it out. Kenna, you were in the same group as Claire or a different group? Same group. Okay. So did anyone from the other groups, the other two groups, did you come up with the same result or something different? Did we all converge on this solution here that's in turquoise? Yes. I'm not seeing any. Okay, good. That's what you were supposed to do. So this is very encouraging. Let me put it that way. Okay, so can we move on to the next one? Someone other than Claire's group. What about the deal with Fon and Alada? This is, yeah, and Claire and Kenna and you guys were absolutely right that this first example is exactly, from a structural point of view, it's exactly the same structure of issue that and solution that we saw in the Polynesian case. Now I'm going to, since we called this kind of ordering here a feeding order, whereby these tsus get dragged along by what happened to, so the newly created tsus get dragged along with the original tsus. The order that we end up with, we can call a counter feeding order. If this is a feeding order here, then if we have the opposite order, and if we are required by our facts, required by the facts to have the reverse order, then we can call that a counter feeding order. I'm just introducing some terminology, but I think it's useful terminology. Feeding, I think, kind of makes sense here because one change feeds into the next. And if you go against that, then you are counter to the feeding order, hence counter feeding order. Okay, so what about B? Again, we're dealing with this pre-palatal affricate ch in Proto-Quebec, but now we're looking at what happens to how we get to the outcome of S in Fon and Alada. We could really just look at one of them because it's the same for conclusion for both. So someone from a different group want to explain what you came up with and what your reasoning was. Anyone?
I can.
Okay.
I can share my screen too.
Sure. I think I need to stop sharing. And then you can share. Is that working? Yes, good.
Can you see this?
Yeah, oh there. Okay, there you go. Excellent.
So our group, we came up with, so this one was maybe easier to explain as just T with an S going to S.
Mm-hmm.
And then for 10 through 13, if it was reconstructed as T with a prepalatal S, it's maybe sort of difficult to imagine a single sound change where T with the prepalatal S goes to S immediately. But because of this rule that we had that we just came up with, if you set up like the feeding order, then you could have T with the prepalatal S going to T with an S, and then T with an S goes to S.
Good. Okay. So the change, the way you're stating it, then this change of a T with the prepalatal S to just a dental S alone seems like it's more is going on than
Right,
just
yeah.
than just a single. So a single leap, as it were, is too much of a leap, too much to do all at once. So you wanted to break it down based on that thinking. You wanted to break it down into a couple of intermediate steps, and one of those intermediate steps, you could imagine, is exactly the change of dental ts to s that you need anyway, independently, for the facts of 18 through 22. Am I restating what your reasoning?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Good. This was the solution I wanted you to get at. Now, did the other groups get something similar? Yeah. Yes. No. Did anyone get anything different? Let me put it that way. It looks like I don't see any indication that anyone got anything other than that. So bravo to all of you. Well done. Okay, so Oscar, stop sharing if you would. Okay, thank you. So any questions about that? What we really have then is a different kind of basis for our ordering. We want, in this case, in the first one, we ultimately had to go against a feeding order. We posited a counter feeding order to get the right results. Whereas in this case, how do we get from a ch to a s? There's really oops. Too much is going on, so we need some intermediate steps to get there. And what has to change? Well, you have to change the prepalatal to dental and the affricate. So to dental and affricate to fricative. So at least two things have to change. Maybe there's more going on than that, but at least those two things have to change. So in a sense, then you say, well, wait a minute, affricate to fricative, we're doing that anyway to get from ts to s in fawn and alauda for numbers 18 through 22. So in a sense, then what we have is more or less we're sort of taking a free ride on the ts to s change that is independently needed. And is that what? How in the terms that we've been talking, that is feeding or counter feeding? What kind of relationship would this taking a free ride be?
This would be feeding.
Feeding, yeah, exactly. Because we're saying that the the ch to ts change as the first step that we posit. So this is, bear with me for a sec. I want to make sure we get this right. And then this is actually like that. This is like that. So we have these two changes. And this one feeds into it. And you can, I guess I could technically draw here. Let me get a different color. It goes to ts and then like that. And that is really the definition of a feeding relationship. This one thing is created and then it feeds into this change. So by recognizing intermediate steps in the development, we really, we've really learned several things here. If you think about it, I'll go back to this one now. We've learned that some changes need to be broken up or broken down, if you will, into intermediate steps so that we get from A to ... We get ultimately to C, not as one giant step, but as several smaller steps. And some people have even gone so far as to say that maybe sound change proceeds one feature at a time, sort of a minimal change hypothesis or something like that. I don't think it has an actual name, but we'll make up a name. Minimal change hypothesis. That sound change takes place one feature at a time. So that to get from something, for a complex change like ch becoming s, where both the manner changes and the position, the place of articulation change, you would need to break it down into a couple of steps. And then when we have intermediate stages, give us an opportunity for thinking in terms of a feeding order. In that one change feeds into the next change. And moreover, it's also consistent with what we've said about phoneticity, because if we have the situation that we saw here, whereby we have ts operating any or ts to s operating anyway, we have the same situation that we talked about with regard to the Ks. If this is a ts, and if sound change is just phonetic in nature, that's what I mean by emphasizing the phoneticity of sound change, then this ts, this newly created ts, and this original ts, it doesn't matter whether it's been in the language for thousands of years or whether it was created yesterday. Regularity of sound change and the phoneticity of sound change tell us that the same sound should behave in the same way in the same environment, and therefore it gets pulled along. And that's why, like I talk about, it sort of taking a free ride. When we have a change that's independently needed, then we can take a free ride on that. And in a way, it's by taking a free ride. In a way, we are satisfying Occam's razor. Does someone see how Occam's razor and parsimony play a role? Might play a role here in saying, yeah, taking a free ride, that's a reasonable step to take. Does anyone see how Occam is involved? I told you Occam is always with us, hence wearing the T-shirt today. So again, anyone want to flesh out that reasoning?
It simplifies the number of sound changes we would have to posit.
Yeah, exactly. We don't have to say that there is a ts to ch. I'm sorry. Otherwise we could say, well, there's a ts to s change involving original affricates, and also so with original and so with newly created ts. And that's multiplying entities needlessly. It's saying there are two separate ts to s changes, instead of saying that there is just a single change that, by virtue of phoneticity of sound change and regularity of sound change, draws in the original tsus and the newly created tsus under the same sound change. So Occam, our parsimony reasoning plays a role here as well. Everyone see that? Everyone cool with that? Yeah, yes, 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 yes. Okay, good, good. All right, so let's, in the few minutes remaining, let's look at German. So for today, for German, you had come up with the with all of the correspondences last time, and for today, you were those correspondences were. Let me get back to a page that I want to write on here. Put this over to the side if we need it. And we will come back. Here we go. Okay, good. Okay, so what about our German? German English, comparative method, reconstruction. So we had, based on the first, we had Z corresponding to S, and we decided that that took place in initial position. And when we take the very next one, we see that we have sh corresponding to S. Oops. Also in initial position. But was there a difference between the initial position in the word for summer and the initial position in the word for stone? Similarly, the initial position in the word for sea and the initial position in the word for spin. How are they different?
Well, the ones in stone and spin are before a stop.
And the other?
Are before a vowel.
Right, yeah. So in summer, it's before a vowel, and in the other case, it's before a consonant. So, if we ignored if all we focused on was the initial position and didn't worry about what came after it, we would say they were overlapping. And some of you said that, and I told you what my comment says in such a case is that sometimes you have to be more granular in the environments and you see where that gets you. So if you just had this and said they are in overlapping distribution, you'd be right as far as you went. But once you add in the additional information about vowel and consonant following, then the picture changes. And what kind of distribution is this that we see here? Anyone? If it's not overlapping, what do we have?
Complementary.
Complementary, exactly, right. And that changes your analysis considerably. And we can go further then and look at the next set of S and S. S corresponding to S. That should be lowercase. And where does that occur? Well, we have the suffix less. We also have ganz and goose. And I think that's it, right? Oh, and house and house. So we have 3 instances, and what do they all have in common in terms of their environment? Anyone? You all did this. So, well, most of you did this. Someone should be able to give me an answer. My finger's getting itchy. Tell me what I should type here.
Pound sign.
Okay, now you're all talking at once, but I think this is what you were saying. Final position. So all of these, los or less, goose, and and house all have the correspondence in final position. Now, this is why I told you you had to pay attention to the phonetic transcription of the English and not just the spelling, because there's obviously a vowel at the end in house, but that's not pronounced. And and some of you got hung up on well, there's a consonant here with the N and there's no consonant here. And that's fine. For starters, you have to, sort of put all the information there, and it's like, they say about throwing spaghetti against the wall to see what sticks. So you have all of those environments, and you see, well, which ones matter? You have to use your sensibilities about the degree of granularity, the degree of generalization that you need to make. And there isn't a hard and fast answer. You just have to sort of experiment with different hypotheses, and that's really why we talk about this as a sort of an exercise in the scientific method of generating hypotheses and seeing where those hypotheses lead you, what the consequences are of the hypotheses, and then evaluating them. If we do it this way, what kind of distribution do we have for all three of these? Anyone? Someone tell me. Someone say it.
Still complementary, right?
It's complementary. Yes, exactly. It's complementary because these are not the same environments. They do not overlap at all. Initial before a vowel is completely distinct from initial before a consonant, and both of those, since they involve sounds in initial position, are completely distinct from the final position for this last correspondence set. Now things become a little more interesting, a little more complicated, perhaps, when we go to say a word like, well, we can do two of them. The Gruß and Greet one, where we have an S in German and a T in English. And where does that environment, what is the environment for that one? Gruß, Greet. Someone, anyone? I know you can say it.
Also word final.
Also word final. What conclusion do you draw from that? What is the relationship of this correspondence set to these correspondence sets here, or to any part of these correspondence sets? There's one that stands out, right? And what is the one that jumps out at you as being highly relevant?
It overlaps with the SS correspondence.
Exactly. And what conclusion do you draw from that?
They must have different protophony constructions. Right.
So whatever you decide to do about these three here, and some of you will see in a moment that there are possibly other choices to make. Whatever you do, this set here, the SS in final position set and the ST in final position set, have to be separate and distinct proto-language elements, because the environments overlap. So therefore, by regularity of sound change, you cannot use the same proto-language starting point to get you both outcomes. Okay, everyone cool with that? This is just our method. And what I really want you to get out of this is that you should trust the method. You should trust the method. Apply the method, see where it takes you, and then you can say, okay, yes, I sort of see a coherent overall picture that's developing here. But at this point, I want you to trust the methodology. Okay, we have just a minute to go, but the next set that we get, looking at Scheide and Sheath, for instance, has a sh in both. And where does that occur? Scheide, Sheath. Where does the sh occur?
At the beginning before a vowel.
At the beginning before a vowel. So what does that look like? What does that tell you? How does that compare to anything else that you've seen so far?
Well, we know it's a different protophoneme than the sh and s correspondence.
This one.
Yeah.
Is it?
Maybe not. Never mind.
No. But this, okay, so there are two comparisons to make. What is the relationship of sh, s correspondence? This one here that I've highlighted. What is the relationship with this one? Initially, this one occurs initially before a consonant. This one occurs initially before a vowel. What kind of, Julia? What kind of distribution is that?
Well, complementary.
Exactly.
So,
but what if? Yeah. So then, so you could, in principle, say, all right, this sh, s correspondence and this sh, sh correspondence can go together as the same protophoneme. That means that these two, I will highlight this one in yellow. That means these two would be different, would be distinct. And what is the relationship of this one is Z to S with the sh to sh set?
Well, they're in the same environment, so those ones have to be different.
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
So there are actually a couple of different ways of cutting up these into proto-language phonemes. But and actually amongst all of you, you came up. Some of you came up with one solution. Some came up with another. As long as you follow the methodology, then you're and you pay attention to the distribution, then you're in business. And so you could either group these two together here, or you could group the two turquoise ones together, and you get a different overall look to your solution that way. Okay, we're out of time now. There's no homework for Wednesday, but do have a look at the German problem. I've given you comments on those of you who turned it in. If you haven't turned it in, please do turn it in. There's still time. And other than that, I'll see you on Wednesday. On Wednesday, there will be an assignment that will be yet another comparative reconstruction problem that will be due on the following Monday. That's just an alert for you. Okay. All right, great. A pleasure as always meeting with you. See you guys on Wednesday. Okay. So long, everyone.
See you Wednesday.
Yes. Bye-bye. And I want to stop recording.